in the price build-up is reviewed, more or less to the level that you've been asking?
I don't want to talk about the long-term project. Well, the long-term projects may be mid-year budget. They will present our petition. And even the chairman on Parliamentary Transport Committee has also promised us to give him a copy of our petition and see how best he can help us. So at the meeting when you call, I have already presented to my elders. We have also agreed that we'll make sure we give him a copy. So we are doing everything possible to make the driving industry a lucrative one.
Grateful for your time this afternoon. That's Abbas Imoro. He is the Public Relations Officer of GPRT and has been telling us or sharing the reaction of his members following the 15 peso reduction on the price builder. We've been joined by Kudus Mohammed, who is also the Communications Manager at the National Petroleum Authority, to help us understand the issue of taxes reduction in the price build-up. What will be the long-term impact on government's revenue position, especially when government is seeking to bridge the fiscal deficit? Kudus, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We've heard yesterday that aside the 15 pesos granted the drivers, government is also going to review the taxes in the price build-up in the mid-year budget. Has that come to your attention, and what would that mean in terms of revenue for government from the more or less the downstream sector?
Thank you very much for having me. I think yesterday, after the meeting between the transport owners and government, the information that came out was that there was an immediate instruction of GOEL to reduce their export price, and then going further, there would be a review possibly of the taxes, levies, and margins onto the price build-up. What has not been clearly communicated is which particular tax are we looking at, which particular margin are we looking at, to what degree or percentage we don't know yet. If you look at the price build-up and the margin taxes and levies that are actually embedded, they can be categorized into three. One goes directly to government, the one that goes to statutory organizations or bodies, and then the one that goes to the dealers and suppliers. I'm not too sure what is it the discussion is going to be centered on. And so I probably think that rather than speculate, we should wait till the clarity is told to all of us.
But since that has not been communicated, let me take you back a little. When this whole conversation about the plea to take off some of the taxes started, they were asking for example, the energy debt recovery levy to be taken off, the price stabilization levy to be taken off. So these are some of the taxes they're asking for.
Okay, so price stabilization has been taken off since the beginning of November. So that one has been answered, is gone. But the energy recovery is what is still there. Like I said, this is still under discussion. When I listened to the spokesperson for the transport unions, he said that they haven't been specific at the time of the conclusion because government said that they needed time to review, to be able to understand where they probably can touch and the processes to take to get that worked upon. So I believe that it will be good for us to wait to have the specifics, because you ask a direct and specific question, what is expected or anticipated to be the impact going forward given the deficit of government. And I'm saying that we might not be able to do that when we don't have specifically what government intends to touch and what is the percentage it's intended. When the price stabilization and recovery levy was taken off, we were able to do the mathematics and tell the public how much revenue government was going to lose, because then it was clear what it was and how much it was, so we could do the arithmetic and then communicate. In this particular instance, it is still at the discussion or negotiation stage. So when government and the transport owners are done with the processes, I believe we will all be told, and then to be able to work out the mathematics and probably convey to the public what is expected to be lost as revenue that otherwise should have come to government.
Could you say, in all honesty, looking at how the prices of crude is behaving on the international markets, the 15 peso granted the drivers will not take any longer before the gains will be eroded. Instead of looking for or finding a sustainable solution to this problem, what is the MPA together with government doing? Because this seems not a sustainable measure.
So, like I said elsewhere, and I want to repeat it, you see, most often the conflict or the disagreement between consuming public and government is when government is imposing taxes or raising taxes in order to generate revenue. And then it leads to the increases in the prices of fuel at the pump. So you realize that there are issues that are within the domain of government. And so people legitimately want to come after government to say, please reduce and arrest the increases. In this particular dynamic, it is absolutely different. And it is way beyond the control of government. Because to a larger extent, okay, the driver for the increases in the prices today is from the world market. Okay, and if it is from the world market, if we are not measured in the things we demand for, trust me, we probably will put ourselves in a situation that would want a quick recovery very soon. That will be difficult for all of us.
Chris, thank you so much for speaking.
You just...
No, you can wrap up for me.
Yes. So, like you just mentioned, the issue of the reduction by oil of about 15 pesos. It is almost the same as was reduced or removed by the withdrawal of the price stabilization and the recovery levy. It was also 16 pesos. Okay, but people did not feel the impact because the world prices continue to go up. So the issue is not as straightforward as that. We might want to have some reprieve, but not until we probably have a certain arrest on the world market. Trust me, a lot of these things will be back and forth.
Mohammed Abdul Kudus is the communications manager at the National Petroleum Authority and has been helping us to understand the long-term impact of the 15 pesos that have been removed on the price build-up per liter at Ghana Oil Company. Now, let's stay a while on this issue because it is the leading story of the day. We've been joined by Eric Mello, who is our correspondent, has been touring the city of Accra to see whether this reduction in the price at Guel has been extended at other OMCs. Eric, thank you so much for going round town to gather these details for us. What have you been gathering? Let's start with that.
Okay, so good afternoon and I welcome everyone to GBC News. Okay, so today we woke up seeing a splash on oil of about 15% reduction on their oil import, which means the usual 60 days 85 pesos they take have been reduced to 60 days 70 pesos. And so today I decided to go around other filling stations, OMC, to check if it's same. It will surprise me to know that as at now, I've tried to visit the two biggest OMCs in Ghana here, which is Shell and Total, and still their price is still 60 80 pesos. It's same with Shell as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Eric, for bringing us up to speed on this development. Eric is our correspondent who has been going around the city of Accra. He just reported that Guel although Goil has reduced its price, Total and Shell are still standing at their earlier price. And of course, we'll be bringing you more on this issue, but in some of the days, other stories about 40 managers from microfinance institutions, rural and community banks have been schooled on the scrapping of fees and charges, registration with the Financial Intelligence Center and compliance with the anti-money laundering laws in Ghana. According to the head of financial stability at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Joseph Franz, the move is to keep players in the financial sector abreast of the updated rules and regulations set by the Apex Bank during the year. We'll bring you details of that story later, but the chief executive of the Cocoa Board, Mr. Joseph Boahin, says the two cocoa growing countries must balance the market by increasing local consumption, processing to add value and leveraging on the health benefits of the commodity. He believes this collaboration will help to achieve decisions taken by Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative to ensure the mutual interest of cocoa farmers. The Cocoa Board boss was speaking in Accra when the first ever executive secretary of the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative, Mr. Alex Asanfo, presented his letter of credence to the Foreign Affairs Minister, Ms. Shirley Ayokobochi, in Accra.
The initiative of the cooperation between Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire to better the livelihood of cocoa farmers. In August 2021, the governments of the two countries signed the headquarters agreement for the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative Secretariat in Ghana. It is to provide the needed coordinated efforts to ensure compliance with the dictates of the Living Income Differential LID. Both countries settled on the appointment of the first ever executive secretary of the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative. Ghana has accorded the initiative secretariat and its staff diplomatic privileges to operate effectively. Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Minister Ms. Shirley Ayokobochi said as a $100 billion industry, Ghana earns only 6% of the amount. She believes to boost the cocoa sector, processing of the commodity will do the trick.
Not just cutting away our raw materials, raw cocoa in the form of beans or paste or powder or whatever out of the country. We want to see more processing. We want to see more of the end products being produced here.
Presenting his letter of credence, the executive secretary of the Côte d'Ivoire Ghana Cocoa Initiative, Mr. Alex Asanfo, said this comes at a time where there is imbalance between producer income and profits of chocolate to the multinational.
I will do my best to help advancing the agenda of our two heads of state. This is very important because we have a lot of discussions at the international level, European Union, United States, and many others.
The Cocoa Board boss, Mr. Joseph Boahin, said both countries must work at balancing the market by adding value through processing.
The greater part of the value is found in the processing and consumption. If you're able to process more of our cocoa here, and if you're able to also consume more, that's where we'll be taking our fair share of their value.
Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire have pledged to promote and defend their collective position on the global market and ensure decent and remunerative income for cocoa farmers.
Now let's go back to our earlier story where about 40 managers from microfinance institutions, rural and community banks have been schooled on the scrapping of fees and charges, registration with the Financial Intelligence Center and compliance with the anti-money laundering laws in Ghana. According to the head of the financial stability at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Joseph Franz, the move is to help them appreciate the banking regulations. We'll bring you up that story later, but in some of the days, other stories. MTN Ghana has presented minivans to 8 distributors from across the country. I guess I was to appreciate their contribution to the growth of the telco as the company marks its 25th anniversary in Ghana.
MTN Ghana has grown to become the biggest telecommunication company in the country. The telecom giant leads the market in both voice and data services. The dominance has been extended on the Ghana Stock Exchange, with the telco carrying the market share for some time now. Small businesses dotted around the country have also played significant roles across the value chain to help the telco attain this feat. As MTN Ghana marks its 25th anniversary, it is rewarding the enormous contribution of its dedicated distributors. 8 of the distributors received 8 Toyota Haze for their dedicated service.
In as much as we have contributed to the growth of the company MTN in Greater Accra, this is something that we least expected. So we can only say a very big thank you to them for recognizing us.
For us, what we have observed in this gesture from MTN is that really they acknowledge our contribution to their success over the 25 years, and the fact that it is to say that we want to do more. And really, if that is the posturing of MTN, then we are willing to also do more.
The Chief Sales and Distribution Officer at MTN Ghana, Mr. Shaibu Haruna, said the company appreciates the efforts of all distributors and its growth.
This is more saying thank you for the good work that our distributors have done for MTN over the last 25 years. And also looking ahead, we believe that we have a partnership that will take us to becoming the biggest and valuable platform in Ghana and across Africa.
The Crops Research Institutes of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research has developed 2 new varieties of tomatoes with superior qualities over the varieties imported from Burkina Faso. The 2, CRI Kobna and CRI Copia, have a yield of 20 tons per hectare, each with a relatively longer shelf life and higher disease tolerance. Ghana currently imports $100 million worth of vegetables a year, mainly tomatoes and onions, with tomatoes consuming 40% of the amount.
Tomato is the commonly consumed vegetable in most Ghanaian households, eateries and restaurants. However, inadequate local production and supply against the national demand, coupled with higher taste for imported varieties, have been an albatross around the necks of farmers, traders, as well as other players in the supply and demand chain. Data from the Ghana National Tomato Traders and Transporters Association suggests that an average of 70 truckloads of fresh tomatoes, which translates into 100,000 tons, are imported from neighboring Burkina Faso annually. This adversely affects the economy because it creates jobs for the farm hands and all those along the production chain in that country. These were some of the factors that prompted the Crops Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research at Kwadaso to source for funding to research and develop the 2 new varieties. The senior research scientist and vegetable breeder with the institute, Dr. Michael Kwabnose, spoke highly of the new varieties.
In the greenhouse here, what we do is often when we want to do crosses, because it's well protected, we come and do our crosses here. What I mean is that you take pollen from another interested line and then you transfer to another line. And so because it's well protected, your success rate will go high here, unlike doing it in the open field.
Madam Akosia Techiman and Auntie Safo are both traders in both tomato, expressed their readiness to embrace the 2 new varieties. These are CRI Kwabna and CRI Copia.
The seeds from Burkina Faso are good, so the vegetables stay long for about a week, but lately go bad within 3 days compared to that of Ghana, which lasts for a day.
5 days, 3 days. Ghana, the end of the year, you need not get to know your say for that. They say Burkina no cry, Tiania Profano. Or must say a Jumano.
This is due to the chemicals the farmers apply to the vegetables to make them grow faster.
3 days to be Ghana and so soon.
Experts say Kwabna and CRI Copia can do better in the forest and transitional zones covering the Ashanti Bono East and Ahafo regions, with prospects to do fairly well in some of the other ecological zones too.
Let's go back to our earlier story where the Bank of Ghana is engaging players in the rural banks tier to help them appreciate the regulation process and help them adhere to the banking principle.
Broadening and deepening financial inclusion in Ghana is essential in ensuring inclusive growth and achieving the objectives of the financial sector strategic plan. This makes microfinance institutions and rural and community banks instrumental in roping in the unbanked at the community level. In order to firm up and sustain the regime of engagement of the unbanked, a forum has been held for managers of these institutions to promote financial stability, adhere to anti-money laundering laws, and promote financial inclusion in their institutions. The head of financial stability at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Joseph France, charged the participants to submit factual returns to the BOG to facilitate the assessment of their work by the central bank.
The financial institutions are the conduit upon which every economic activity revolves. So, yes, we start with the rural and community banks, we start with the financial institutions, the regulated institutions. It's not only Bank of Ghana regulated institutions, but we also sensitize the general public. We go to the churches, we go to the general public, we go to the securities agencies. We've had a number of training for the Ghana Army, the police service, and we are rolling out to attend the fire service and the services in general.
The deputy manager in charge of financial stability at the Bank of Ghana, Mrs. Mamisa Odrofrimpong, spoke of the importance of the collateral registry in the operations of RCBs and MFIs.
When you take a loan and you default, they report the ones that you have, as well as the ones that you have defaulted. So by looking at the credit referencing system or the credit history of a prospective borrower, then the lender will decide whether this person is credit worthy or not. So that is on one side. And the second side is the collateral registry that helps the lender to dispose of the security that is registered with them in the case of defaults.
The Bank of Ghana estimates that approximately 7.3 million of Ghana's adult population is unbanked. These workshops have therefore been designed to ensure that financial institutions contribute their quota to the promotion of financial stability in the country.
We'll go for a break. When we return, we'll take you live to Parliament, where the House has resumed sitting, and we'll be bringing you details from the meeting. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's still News Hour live on GBC News and on GTV. We are also live on Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Now, let's go to Parliament because the minority leader, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, has declared intentions to revoke Standing Order 935 to challenge the conduct of the first Deputy Speaker, Mr. Joseph Osei-Wusu. This follows a directive by the Speaker for changes to be made in Thursday's votes and proceedings to indicate that he ruled on the motion put by the minority leader on the recension of the approved 2022 budget. Parliamentary correspondent Homo Kosom Abdullah joins us on phone with details of that move by the minority. Homo, thank you so much for joining us. What prompted the minority leader to come up with this decision?
You know, Sonny, if you remember clearly last week, after the motion was put forward by the minority leader, it was admitted, debated, but when it was time for the speaker, the first deputy speaker, to put a vote to it, he attempted to rule. In fact, what happened was that he was in the process of ruling on the matter when there was a lot of disruptions in the House because the minority tried to intervene, guiding the speaker that what he was attempting to do was contrary to what the standing orders said. So on a Thursday, the next day, when the vote and proceedings came to the House, it was captured that the speaker actually attempted to rule on the matter. What it meant was that if the speaker actually ruled on the matter, it means that the motion that was put by Mr. Haruna Idrisu was thrown away, and any attempt to ensure that the budget that was approved was rejected. It means that it didn't work. But the minority insisted that the speaker didn't actually rule on this motion. What he did was an attempt, which was not successful. And besides, they argued that on a motion when put before the House after it has been debated, can only be voted on. It cannot be ruled by the speaker. So when a sitting started today, the first deputy speaker, Mr. Joseph Osei-Wusu, attempted to, or let's say succeeded in telling the table of it to ensure that corrections are made in the vote of proceedings to reflect that he actually ruled on the motion and not that he attempted to. That was when the minority leader, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, attempted to correct him to say that in the first place he was not supposed to rule on the matter, and then the vote and proceedings reflect that he attempted, he didn't succeed. So there was a banter between the minority leader and then the speaker. Then the speaker said that the minority can decide to disagree with the fact that he was supposed to rule on the matter or not. But to the best of his knowledge, he ruled in the matter, and it's the vote and proceedings must be structured to reflect as such.
Another issue that dominated headlines in the papers today was the address by the finance minister yesterday, where he responded to a lot of concerns raised over the 2022 budget. Has the minority been reacting to some of the more or less modifications that he said has been done since their concerns were raised?
Most definitely. You know, a letter, according to the finance minister, a letter to the modification was sent to the speaker's office. But once sitting started, the first thing the minority leader raised was that the speaker has not presented a letter to that effect or a document to that effect before the House. And you know, unfortunately, on Thursday, the House couldn't admit the business statement for this week. So there was an attempt to present it, and the business statement indicated that the House was supposed to begin consideration of estimates from the budget. So what the minority side was trying to say was that the budget is still in limbo, so they cannot go ahead to discuss estimates on it when the budget itself is hanging as to whether it has been approved or it has not been approved. But later, the document to that effect was presented to the House. Then they tried to challenge the procedure in which it was put before the House. But finally, it looks like the minority side have accepted the modification to the budget, and it has been the Speaker has directed that it should be admitted as part of the budget so that it will be considered alongside the budget itself.
Thank you so much, Homo. Keep your eye on the development in the House. We'll be coming back for more in our subsequent bulletins. Homo Kosoma Abdullah is our parliamentary correspondent and has been giving us details from the sitting today. Away from that, the Minister of Health, Mr. Kwekwe Menu, is proposing a no vaccination, no entry to public places, especially to the ministries from next year. The minister is also worried the nation's stock of vaccines could expire the longer Ghanaians wait to take their jabs. He said about 9 million more vaccines are expected in the country in December, which was early on declared as vaccination month. He made the proposal while inaugurating the boards of directors of 4 agencies under the Ministry of Health.
If you are not vaccinated, you cannot enter the Ministry of Health. We now have vaccines, lots, and over the next 1 week we are going to receive close to about 8 million vaccines. We have vaccinators across the country. We are using our traditional vaccination program, vaccinators, plus added trained other personnel. We have infrastructure, cold chain equipment across the regions, across the country. We can now store whatever ultra-low temperature vaccine we get, all parts of the country. But our people are being, I wouldn't call it hesitancy, the typical Ghanaian attitude of you're waiting till last minute. And if you're not careful, some of these vaccines can expire because they're so last minute in this exercise. Our last minute is the expiry date. And so we need to push people. And that's why we want to try to introduce this mandatory fence. If the Ministry of Health begins it, it may trigger for some other people to do that. But the exact date will be from sometime in January, so that we have 3 weeks, 4 weeks to Christmas to let everybody go for vaccination. That is all we'll do.
In some of the day's other stories, a national standardized test for primary 4 students will be administered on the 17th December 2021. The standardized test is spearheaded by the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service. Following this development, all basic schools in the country will vacate on the same day, December 17. At a media briefing in Accra, the Minister for Education, Dr. Yaw Seiduchim, said the NST will be a critical benchmark for the Ghana Education Service to help improve on learning outcomes in basic schools. Oforo Adako has the rest of the story.
A total of 470,768 primary 4 pupils from 50,391 public basic schools will on Friday, December 17, 2021, set for the test at 2,850 examination centers across the country. 200 pupils will take the test per center. It will be a day exams in 2 sections, 1 section in language literacy or English and the other section in numeracy or mathematics.
The grading will come to let us know the areas where we need to improve on, the areas where we are doing better, the areas where we should concentrate on the teachers and their approaches and methodologies, the areas that should go to us as the overall supervisors, what we need to do to improve on teaching and learning.
According to the Minister for Education, Dr. Yaw Seiduchim, this year's National Standardized Test (NST) is scheduled for only primary 4. However, in subsequent years, primary 2, primary 4 and primary 6 would set for the National Standardized Test. He disclosed that the test will in future be extended to junior high schools.
We need to know the situation of the students at any step of the way. So when you begin with primary 2 and you do your assessment and the students are not doing well generally, you have primary 3 to do intervention. If specific students are not doing well and others are doing so well, you also have critical data
That will allow teachers to do interventions for those students.
The Education Strategic Plan 2018-2030 mandates the Ministry of Education through its agencies to create a national standard-based assessment at the basic level to measure the quality of learning achievement. For GBC News, Ofreiwa Dakon reporting.
The National Best Farmer Alhaji Mohammed Masood says the ability of the youth to engage in productive agricultural activities has social and economic benefit. In an exclusive interview with GBC News, the National Best Farmer said it's about time the youth erase the negative perceptions about farming and venture into it, a business he describes as lucrative and a way to also reduce the unemployment rate in the country.
Recounting his experience, Alhaji Mohammed Masood, who emerged as this year's National Best Farmer, said he started on a smaller scale until he had the means to expand his scope of business. According to him, for new entrants, being resilient and committed is key to succeeding in the agricultural sector.
I started with rice. After harvesting, I saw that no, this enterprise I've started was very creative than what I was even doing. So that's what inspired me into farming. And then I started with rice. I didn't do anything soybean or maize.
He called on the youth to avail themselves to the sector.
Agriculture is not meant for illiterates. It's meant for people who are educated, who really know what is happening in the world. You understand? So they are the best people who can come into agriculture and make agriculture more successful. So I will urge them they should do whatever they want to do, but they should take agriculture as the first priority in their lives.
He said giving back to society is an act that has spurred him on to reach greater heights.
Human beings should not be too selfish, always thinking about you yourself, but also try, when you make something small, you share.
Alhaji Mohammed Masood expressed gratitude for the honor and pledged his commitment to help develop Ghana's agricultural sector.
The Inspector General of Police has met with the licensed courier and postal operators as part of a campaign to keep the streets safe. Dr. George Akufu-Dampari said it is important for them to be legally registered and visibly branded. The IGP reminded them not to fall foul of the law.
Safety on the roads is a shared responsibility, and for which reason the road safety campaigns are targeting the various road users. In Accra on Monday, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufu-Dampari, met with another group of road users, courier and postal service operators, on their role in keeping the road safe. Their meeting was held behind closed doors, allowing operators to express their concerns and grievances with the police department. Their discussion was also on finding workable ways to reduce the high numbers of road carnage. Mr. Ni Iabua Edwin Bergeson is a Public Relations Officer and Consumer Affairs Manager at the Postal and Courier Services Regulatory Commission.
Many of these guys, in their bid to make sure that they deliver their goods on time, find themselves flouting the traffic regulations. So they run the red lights. They ride sometimes without helmets. You know, they do not have reflective jackets on themselves. So they are committing at this meeting to ensure that their members have all those things.
The Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, ACP Kwesi Fori, urged the motorcycle riders especially to adhere to road safety regulations.
The riders need to carry out their operations without injuring themselves or causing accidents.
He assured all that the police administration's doors are open to address their concerns.
With the increase in cases of motor accidents in the Eastern region, the Regional Command of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department, MTTD, are recommending more training for drivers and motor riders. The Regional MTTD Commander, Chief Superintendent Stephen Kofi Ahiatafo, disclosed that the region recorded 251 deaths through motor accidents from January to September this year, a situation he described as worrying.
Statistics from the MTTD shows that 97 fatalities were recorded in the first quarter of the year, with 59 deaths through commercial vehicles, 14 through private vehicles, 55 through motorcycle, while 24 pedestrians were knocked down. The second quarter recorded 93 fatalities with 35 deaths through commercial vehicles, 29 through private vehicles, 60 through motorcycle, and 20 pedestrian knockdowns. 87 fatalities were recorded in the third quarter, with 48 deaths through commercial vehicles, 24 through private vehicles, 40 for motorcycle, and 25 pedestrian knockdowns. From January to September this year, 801 commercial vehicles, 650 private vehicles, and 435 motorcycles were involved in accidents in the region. Chief Superintendent Stephen Ahifiatu said, with the increasing numbers in road fatalities, there's the need for the establishment of a training center for riders to build on their skills and be abreast of road regulations to minimize accidents. The regional MTTD commander noted that his outfit, in collaboration with the NRSA and DVLA, will embark on a sensitization exercise to educate all road users on the need to use roads safely to prevent accidents during the Yuletide.
We'll go out there to the lorry stations. We'll go to the central busy points within the region. We'll hit the major roads within the region to educate and enforce the regulations of the country.